and welcome to Frankly Speaking with Frank Portinari, the podcast that gains access to real and inspiring people. I'd just like to make a few announcements before we speak to our guest, Nick Dunn. I'd like to thank all those who've liked our previous podcasts, have subscribed and left positive comments. I'd also like to thank today's sponsors, Myson's Building Company, a company built on firm family principles. I'd also like to thank our technical advisors, Raw Media Solutions. So let's dig, let's delve, let's discover, let's inquire, let's explore, and let's experience the fascinating life of today's guest, Nick Dunn. Nick, welcome to Frankly Speaking.
Thank you for having me on your show, Frank.
You're more than welcome. I will let the audience know that I have read Nick's book, and it's a very fascinating read. And if you can get hold of a copy, I would strongly advise you to do so.
So this is the book, Surviving Hell.
Yeah, and it's I must say, Nick, it's a very appropriate title as well.
Yeah,
very appropriate title.
Yeah.
So anyway, Nick, can I ask you? Clearly, a lot of these questions I already know, but I still need to ask them. Can you tell us where you grew up, Nick?
I grew up and currently still live in Ashington, Northumberland. Obviously, my first 8 years of my life, I lived in a close town called Linemouth, and moving to Ashington, and then I moved to a town which is only a few miles away called Bedlington, which most of my school time was in that town where most of my friends live. My parents got divorced in '99, and I came back to live in Ashington, but I still went to the high school in Bedlington because I didn't want to, leave my friends. And obviously I'm only a few miles away, so I was able to get buses to and from school and all that. Growing up was a good time. Going down the woods, going on bike rides. You were never in, unlike the kids of today growing up where everything's social media on computers. Yes, we still had the computers back then, like the Amigas and the SNES and the Sega Mega Drives and stuff like that.
They'd be on the 18th Roadshow now, Nick.
Yeah, but you had so much to do outside. And I was brought up by a working class family, and learning core values, respect your elders, discipline. Yes, I was a delinquent and I was punished, but it's made me the man I am today because I know what core values are, respect, and I think, everyone. I'm not telling everyone, you should bring your children up how I was brought. It's just I think that is a better way, but I'll never, say you should bring your children up like how you can bring your children up however you feel fit. That's you as a parent. But what my parents did, they did fantastic, and it shaped my future and how I've came about my life. My mum, she was working shifts as a carer. My dad was working away from Monday to Friday, so I would see him at weekends. That's what it was like. So I had to kind of, at a young age, grow up quicker. Because you've got to stand on your own 2 feet. Like having my own house key at an early age, because my dad would be working away through the week. Mum would be, say, probably on a night shift. Should leave us a little note if I have to buy stuff like cat or dog food or just stuff like. Or me tea would be either in the microwave or the oven, or in the slow cooker, stuff like that, you know. And I had to stand on my feet.
Did you have siblings, Nick? Did you have any
Yeah,
brothers
yeah,
or sisters?
I did, yeah. But when they're older than me and they're working and living in a place, you know, it was. I enjoyed my childhood. I really did. You know, it's a good time to reflect back on. Obviously, I wasn't as best at school. I rebelled, but you know, when I think back, there are the times that you enjoy and the times that you'll never forget.
Yeah.
As much as I didn't like school, I'll always remember the good times when I was at school. Yeah.
Well, like home time.
Yeah. go in, pretend I'm in class, and then skive. Yeah. You know, it is what it is, and it definitely was.
What was your first job? What was your first job, Nick?
When I left school, I did a bit of landscape gardening. I enjoyed it. Hard work as a 15, 16-year-old, because I was doing a little bit while I was still at school. And I remember going up to the borders and beating, you know, for the pheasants and all that. I enjoyed doing that. But yeah, my first school, and then I went into, like, you know, the factory work while I'm waiting on all my military paperwork processing, and that doesn't take 2 minutes. You know, it takes quite a while. So from landscape gardening, going into factory work, being a packer and stuff like that, it's hard work. You got time scales and targets to meet. So you've got to be, you know, fit, quick on your feet, and quick on your hands as well. And I think when you learn to do stuff like that as a young age, you've got your young mind, and you think, oh, this is crap, this is slave labor. But as a 35-year-old, and I look back now, I think it sets you up. It gives you a work ethic.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I agree. Totally agree.
And if you don't hit your targets and don't work, you don't get that extra pennies in your bank. You just get your bog standard wage, and we all want to strive and earn more money. But to earn that money, you've got to put the work in, unfortunately. And people sometimes forget that.
Yeah. What was the influence for you to join the army? Was that something you'd wanted to do? Did somebody you know was in the army, or did someone talk to you about that?
Arnold Schwarzenegger, Commando. Sunday war films. My dad would watch the war films on Sundays, and be the old black and white one or a coloured one. I was always into my history, and I loved doing World War I and World War II history. I loved studying that. And you know, you look at what regiments were doing different operations, and and the parachute regiment, seeing the operations that they did, and I always wanted a parachute, and that they kind of just drew me to wanting to be one of them. And you know, all the other regiments and that all their berets kind of all look the same, and you've got this maroon machine with a parachute regiment cap badge, and when you looked at a parachute regiment soldier, you saw death, dealer of destruction, anything. You know, they are sent by God to wreak havoc on the enemy, and they've got that aura about them, and they're just drew us, and they are the elite regiment of the British Army. And everyone knows that. And to be a parachute regiment soldier, it takes hard work, blood and guts.
Yeah. Where did you do your training, Nick?
I did my training down in Catterick, so it was, you know, all the old school. They would do it down in Aldershot and all that kind of stuff. And you know, I was quite fortunate to do it so close to home. But when you're only an hour and a half down the road and you've got to do that initial 6 weeks where you can't go home, it's the first time I've been away home. So,
how old was you then, Nick?
I did 6 years.
How old was you when you joined?
I was 8. I applied all my paperwork when I was 17. So I was going to be joining on my 18th birthday, which is March the 1st. But my intake got put back 1 month. So I joined in April instead. So I think, to join an army, you've got to be 18. I know you can join at a young age of 16 and start the ball rolling there, but 18 is the best way because you're a young adult, but you can make the decisions yourself. You don't need parental support and guidance, etc. You physically, and my family were fully behind me joining the army.
Right.
Even though I joined in 2004, and you've got the Afghan and the Iraq happening, my family knew one day I would go to them countries, but they would never stop me doing my dream.
Which one did you go to first?
I went to Northern Ireland first.
Oh, right, remember that.
Which was still in the normal parachute regiment role of my battalion, 1 para. And then halfway through that, we then started to work more with special forces, and then we became part of the special forces support group. So whilst going to Afghanistan and Iraq, you're in a different role, and you do total different kind of operations to, say, the rest of the British Army and all that. So it was quite an eye-opener and a big learning curve in life.
When you were in Northern Ireland, Nick, I know that was a time when there was more talk of peace and, decommissioning and so on. But there was, still clearly a threat. There was a dissident threat, so to speak. Were you conscious because you were a para and the way the paras were generally held by some of that community, clearly in awe by one part of the community, if you like, and not so in the other? Did you feel more of a target because you was a para?
Well, from the whole Sunday, Bloody Sunday.
That's what I mean.
And I'm in 1 para who was involved in that. Yeah, I did. Yeah, it was boring, mundane. The weather's crap. It always seemed to rain, as far as I can remember, for 6 months. But it always was in the back of your mind because of the regiment I was in, and you're doing your patrols, wearing your berets and stuff like that. So you're trying your best to not look threatening, but you've still got to patrol with your weapons because there was still reports of this, that, and the other happening, and you can't be too complacent because we all know what happens when complacency happens. People get injured or worse, and you still got to remain vigilant, even though it was heading.
Where were you based, Nick? Whereabouts were you based?
South Armagh. So I spent, Bandit County.
I was just going to say,
I remember, I can't remember his name now, but I remember going on the job where one of the main, I think is he Piracy, one of the main guys where he lives on the border. And he does all the red deals. So I think his kitchen's in Southern Ireland and his sitting room's in Northern Ireland. And he was just standing in his kitchen. And the police.
I'm trying to think of his name. I know exactly who you're talking about. The name just doesn't come to mind at the moment.
Yeah. But you can't touch him.
No.
And just to experience something like that was just madness.
Isn't it Sean somebody? Is he Sean somebody?
I think it could be right there. I'm not too. I would have to.
I'm not funny. I can see his face. I can actually remember what he looks like. But
But to experience that. As a 19-year-old guy, I was when I finally got to Northern Ireland, because our operation was March to September, and
right.
I'd had my 19th birthday, so I was a little bit older, and only been in battalion a few months. And then a couple of years, I think it was like 2007, I went to Afghanistan.
Right.
That was a very big eye opener, because I think at the time, not long before we went there, there was the biggest incident that the British soldiers, I think it was like 7 or 8 of the guys all died in one explosion, where their commanding officer died as well. I'm sure that was or something similar. I can't remember now. But yeah, wearing all the body armor in nearly 60-degree heat, 40-degree heat in the shade. I'm putting factor 50 on, and my nose is still burning and crusty, and you've got to keep hydrated, because you don't realize how much sweat you're losing and how dehydrated you're coming. And if you're dehydrated, you can't operate properly to a sufficient standard. So you've got to keep you hydrated, and just you can't let your eyes go anywhere else. You've got to keep focusing, because IEDs was the biggest threat in Afghanistan, more than the actual Taliban themselves. Al Qaeda, more people, I would say, have been injured and killed by IEDs than actually shot.
They was infamous for that, weren't they? They were infamous for laying them.
Yeah, exactly, and it was horrible, but it was a experience. I was involved in a vehicle explosion. I was top gunner in was soft-skinned, lightly armored Wimmick, which is the military Land Rover, and we noticed a few people on the hill watching us, and obviously for non-military people, or we call them dickers, and it refers back to the Northern Ireland days. So we went on a scout to try and find out who these people were. Well, they just disappeared, don't they? And then obviously we're driving back into where we were, and then boom. None of the stuff that you see in films where you can see about to explode, they manage to jump behind a wall and save themselves. That doesn't happen. That very rarely happens, I should say. This was boom, blink of an eye, and I'm lying in the back of the Wimmick, dust stand everywhere, my ears ringing. Obviously, the first thing I do is check me family jewels, check all my body parts to see if I'm injured, see if I'm fully able-bodied. And then the reality hits, where the dust starts to settle and you're trying to get out the vehicle, but you're scared in case there's mines else round. So the guys came with the metal detectors and said, there's a mine to the right and it looks very big. So if we came and parked a little bit to the right, we potentially could have drove over an anti-tank mine.
Yeah,
that would have killed all three of us and left the vehicle in bits of metal around the desert. So someone was watching over us three in the vehicle, and no one got injured. The pressure, it was a pressure plate mine designed to basically take someone out of a foot patrol. One person gets injured, 4 people take a stretcher. So there's 5 people out of a section, say 8. So that's a a big thing. That's why they use the IEDs so often. So we were pretty lucky, but it was an experience. Like when we're out in Afghanistan, it's a very horrible but exciting experience at the same time. Iraq, 2009, 2010, spending Christmas and New Year in Iraq. We were working alongside special forces and doing, house clearing and doing nighttime jobs mainly, escort jobs during the day, etc. That was a total different experience to Ireland and Afghanistan. Total different theatre, because obviously you've got to be still vigilant and aware, because if you're doing a patrol, there could be snipers in buildings. Warfare in towns and city centres and stuff like that. It's probably a lot worse than actual being in the desert.
I was going to say that, surely, because they've got so many more vantage points, haven't they?
Exactly, yeah. But that was an experience as well. And so through my military career, I've been in 3 different operation theatres and experienced 3 different things. So that was good for me. And and it just got to the point where a lot of the guys that I befriended and got on with in the military were jumping ship, so to speak. So obviously you got the big heights of going to do Iraq and Afghanistan, doing close protection there, and I came out the army looking into doing personal security protection work, and I made sure that I didn't just focus on one. I got me close protection all squared away, done the course, and then obviously my friend informing me about maritime, doing piracy and all that. So I kind of went, piracy? You mean Captain Jack Sparrow? He went, well, not as quite as that, more like Somali pirates. And I was like, oh, right. Basically just terrorists on boats then. He went, pretty much. And I done the qualifications for that. And I was just putting my feelers out, see who bites. And it ended up being maritime. And I enjoyed it.
Right. How long was you doing that for?
I wasn't doing it that long. Maybe probably just less than 2 years or so. Obviously, I would have done it for quite a few afterwards if things didn't take a turn. But yeah, that was an experience as well.
So let's, for the sake, as I say, because I've read the book, so I know for the sake of the viewers, what year did the next drama begin, shall we say, for you?
So it all happened in October 2013. So September, I was back home off a job. I just had done another interview with another company, just to put my name on as many books as possible. So whoever company got in touch, I would fly off with them. And I was waiting for my flight tickets to come through an email. Another company's trying to get us away, and I was like, well, I've already committed, and you're offering us a transit, which is what we call the maritime jobs. And the company that I went with was giving me 2 months work, followed by 1 month off, followed by 2 months. So I thought, well, I want longevity. I don't want to do a job, come back, then wait for another. I want a bit of consistency. So I flew out September, done a job, went on a second job. Were meant to go and disembark in Sri Lanka, but our company had service vessels, and we boarded our service vessel in October 2013, and we ceased operations for fuel and provisions. So all weapons in pelly boxes, kit and equipment locked away. The only people who have the chance to go into that room is the TDO, which is the tactical deployment officer, who is the guy sorts out the kit and equipment and the guys going to and from Klein vessels, and obviously the captain. Or where we're taking on fuel and provisions, there's a cyclone happening as well, so we came further, because under the maritime law, if due to duress or a natural disaster, you can seek refuge in a neighbouring country. So we were close in Indian waters. We're safe.
Yeah.
And we were taking on fuel and provisions, and I went to bed on the 11th of October, and then we were all rudely awakened on the 12th, early doors, saying we've been boarded by the Indian Coast Guard, and we are being escorted at gunpoint by their naval vessel to the port of Tuticorin.
Right.
We weren't that far away from port, but I noticed the vessel that we were on was going very, very slow. I brought this to the attention. And the reason why we were going so slow is because there was a welcome committee waiting at the docks. And I'm talking about over 50 people, easy. And that's not just the workers at the port. This is TV, cameras from different media organizations. You've got different naval police organizations there as well. We even had certain, I think there were police naval organization from as far as Mumbai. There's absolutely no way they would have gotten there in time, even if they had a private jet. Unless they did have a private jet, but I don't think they would have.
Yeah.
But you don't think and question things. Yeah, you have it in the back of your mind, and you think, this doesn't look right.
Yeah.
But you just get told, just keep out of the way. If we need you, we'll call you and we'll deal with all the paperwork, which we were doing. Anyone who's worked in close protection and maritime knows certain countries like a little bit of extra because they can just go, oh, your passport looks a bit frayed there. Is it real?
Yeah.
Just creating bullshit just to get a bit of coin. That's how it works over there. Corruption at the highest level, which is like second nature to them.
Yeah.
And we thought it was just going to be that. Things were going to get sorted. We had our agent, and I've got video that when I was in India, I released to the British media, where they're going through all, showing the weapons and the ammunition to the police. And you can see our agent laughing and joking with the police. And I'm thinking, hang on a minute. You're on our side, yet you're having a gingangooli with these. Only you should be putting words into their minds that we haven't done anything wrong, because at the minute it looks like you're collaborating. And you don't think.
What? So at that point, then, say when you was at the dockside, was you expecting it to be just a formality? At what point did you start to feel that they were treating you as if you were, as if you'd broken the law?
After 4 days, when they removed the weapons off the vessel.
Right. Okay.
Every department was coming on the vessel, or we showed them the weapons. We've got nothing to hide. All the paperwork was in order. Weapons legitimate. For the weapons that they deemed illegal were in Mumbai. 1 month previously. So how can you 1 minute say these weapons are legitimate, then next minute say illegal?
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that. Especially in India, anyways. Obviously, like America's got different state gun laws. Right? In India, it's just one rule.
Right. Okay.
And different organisations. Oh, there's nothing to be had here. Cheers, gentlemen. We're going to be on our way. And that's when you find out where they've come from. And one department came from Mumbai, and I'm thinking, Mumbai, like what do these people think? What do they think we are? You know, and you're on this vessel, and you're starting to hear news reports that we are selling weapons to fishermen, that we are going to do a Mumbai-style terrorist attack on Tamil Nadu's nuclear power plant. And my family back in the UK are seeing and hearing these stories and allegations. And my dad rang me, and he says, because my family didn't really know what maritime was. You know, I said I'm doing security on ships.
Yeah.
The less they know, the better they feel. And when my parents are reading that I'm potentially doing wrongdoings, what do you think they're going to feel? So they're going to question me, aren't they? Right. I want to know the truth. What are you doing? I said, I'm providing security to make sure our stuff that we get still by sea to this day goes from A to B without getting hijacked.
Yeah.
Because even to this day, 70-80% of all goods still comes via the sea. You know, and we're providing the security to stop the terrorist organizations from hijacking these vessels.
Yeah.
And my family are like, right, okay, you've got our total support. What's actually happening? Well, formalities, paperwork, you know, you name it. And then after 4 days, the local boys, Q Branch, and if you're a James Bond fan, you'll go, oh, Q Branch sounds familiar. Well, that's exactly where they get their name from, James Bond. Because they thought they were like James Bond, that anti-terrorist unit. Donkeys, more like it. And they took over the investigation, and they went, we found weapons. All right, okay. You found weapons. So can you tell your other colleagues that we showed them, and, you know, they said everything was okay, but yet you're now not happy, and you're now creating allegations that you found.
Where are you based while this is going on? Have they got you in a police station? A holding centre? We
had to stay on the vessel till we were removed. So we're in the port of Tuticorin.
Right.
And then on the morning of the 18th of October 2013, we were told we are we're going to hospital for checkup. However, if you've got reading glasses, you can't take them. If you've got a belt, you can't wear that. You can't take your phone, can't take your wallet, can't take your cigarettes if you're a smoker. And I'm thinking, we're like, what kind of hospital is this? But we're not stupid. We knew where we were going. So we all got on the buses. The buses went with blues and twos, media hanging out cars, trying to film were flying down the road, and we were going to the local police station. It was horrible. It was hot, sticky. I've obviously had to ring my family and make an upsetting phone call to my mum, which, you know, to this day still hurts because it was the last time I was able to speak to my mum normally.
Yeah.
And I know people say I shouldn't beat myself up about it, but till you've been in my shoes, then you'll understand why I still feel horrible and pain-stricken when I think of that. Because I'm 5,000 miles away going to a police station, and we had no agent, no one from the embassy. Apparently, they were denied to see us at port. We were on our own, and our only translation between the police force and ourselves was one of the ship's crew who was from Tamil Nadu. So he's getting arrested as well, getting grilled off the police, acting as a translator, because we've got 6 British, 14 Estonian, and 3 Ukrainian. Not a lot of the Estonians in Ukraine can speak English, and the police can't really speak English. So it was pardon me French, it was a massive clusterfuck of the highest order. It was just madness. They gave a little bit of water. We never got fed. It was a cramped little room we were in. There's 35 men in this little room getting processed. And it was a horrible, nerve-wracking experience. Because I've heard stories of guys being arrested because a sat phone and, you know, stuff like that when they're going through the airport and all that. But I never thought I would experience like this myself. I was aware, but when you're aware, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to experience it personally. And we got ushered off from the police station, went to court. Court was closed, went around the back. Some guy came out, waffled a bit of Tamil. Next minute, we're back on the bus, and it's dark, and we're heading towards, obviously, we didn't know at the time, but prison. And we stopped in the middle of the road, by the side of the road, and they were chucking a blank piece of paper in my face saying, sign that or we'll ruin your lives. And then another person on the other bus was saying, sign that and you'll go back to the ship in 2 to 3 days. And people are like, we're not signing that, but we weren't moving. So people were signing just scribbles and Donald Duck and Mickey Mouse and whatnot. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter in India. I could have called myself Peter Pan. I was still going down. Not any person's name on the actual charge sheet was the correct spelling and the correct name. If that was in a UK court of law, it would have been thrown out before it even. In India, they do as they please. No, they just do as they please. They don't care. And we went to prison, Palamcourty, and it's nighttime. The mosquitoes are relentless. It's hot. It's sweaty. Yeah, nerve-wracking. All I can think of is my family. What the hell are they thinking? And I'm looking at these big iron gates in a prison that was built during British rule, built by slaves. And we were going into this. And when they found out there was 6 British coming to their establishment, you could more or less see them doing cartwheels. Because I was told by Indian personnel, you're in the worst state in India, an anti-British state, Tamil Nadu. So when they found out British was coming to their lovely hotel, like I say, they were doing bloody cartwheels and God knows what, the shoes on the other foot now, you know what I mean? All that carry on. And you just think, what on earth's going on? What in your head's going 50 to a dozen? You just think, what is going on here? One minute I was doing my job, next minute I'm in an Indian prison. What? And we don't even know what we've been charged.
I was going to say, had you even been formally charged?
No. It took about 3, nearly 4 months to get any charges put on one. We didn't even. I would have been happy for the police to have said, we are arresting you on the suspicion of illegal weapons. But they couldn't. They just said, you're going to the hospital for checkup. And we complied because we are professionals. We didn't want to cause a stink, especially when two police lorries turned up and about 30 armed guys jumped off the back as a way of show of force.
Yeah.
You know, I value my life.
Yeah.
Even
how long did it take before you were given the opportunity to see somebody that, you know, may have allegedly represented you, if you like, from the embassy?
The next day,
right?
Because the embassy was already informed. Like when I said, like we were in communication with our embassy whilst on the vessel, and I was on connection with my sister. And when I got arrested off the vessel, I said to my sister, "Getting the embassy, the shit's hit the fan."
Okay.
So they were aware.
Yeah.
So once they found out where we were held, then they got in to see us the next day, and we told them, this needs resolved. We need help. And we were at that prison for a couple of days, and the 12 Indians remained there, and the 23 foreigners, we went up to Chennai. And a lot of people don't realize this. They just think I was in one prison for 4 years, and I was in the first prison for a couple of days. I was in the second prison for 6 months. And then obviously I did a bit of time out in the country, and then I got convicted for 5 years, and I did 2 years in the prison.
Right.
That most people know me from being in. So you can, you know, what prison out, shake it all about, your head's messed up because you don't know if you're coming or going. You know, it was horrible. And going into that prison and thought, thank God, and then getting told we're moving, you think, oh, hopefully it's a better prison. Well, we got there and it was just carnage. You know, you're seeing them urinate around. It smells of piss. And it doesn't go down well with the heat. No. You've got rubbish everywhere, which attracts rats. We're not Gordon Ramsay, so we didn't want to eat rice and dal, so we created little cooking teams when we're in prison. I think we probably gave ourselves a dose of bloody food poisoning more than once, but there was one time where we all, whilst in prison before we got bail in 2014, so I've spent Christmas and New Year in prison. And obviously that's when I got informed about my mum 5 days before Christmas that she suffered a double aneurysm whilst I was in prison. So that really knocked me for 6. And I was battling the red mist, and I managed to put that aside. But when I'm walking back nearly a mile from the jailer's office to my cell, I'm getting pelted by stones and all that by Indian prisoners and verbal abused, and because their media was saying we were bad guys. And you know, the prisoners are going to believe it, the newspapers, when they read it. And it was daunting, very daunting. We're in a compound with Tamil tigers, drug runners, Iranian drug lords, Nigerian gangbangers, drug lords. You know, there was a mixture of everyone. People just overstaying their welcome because they're a foreigner getting fraud in one compound as well. And you know, the heat was stifling. Water, I never had a cold drink in 6 months. You couldn't really keep your water cool, but you tried your best. Obviously, you learning tactics you learned in the army, but it didn't stay. It wasn't ice cold. We could never get that.
Nick, when you first met somebody from the embassy, and you know, obviously you gave an account of yourself or yourselves, what was your general impression? Did you get the feeling you were being believed, or was there any? Did you sense any doubt from them?
I think maybe if there was just one or two of we, then I think the government probably would have gone, but because there was six of we,
Right.
and the nature of the job we were doing, I wouldn't say the government was, because they didn't have any evidence or anything from us to, but they're not going to go out their way and say, well, we know you're innocent. They need the facts put in place first, because it's okay for them to say that you're innocent, and then find out you're actually guilty. So they were a bit standoffish, but we told them, we were giving them facts and stuff and everything more than what they could write down in the space. And then obviously, if we had any letters to give to our families, just to say that we're okay and not to try and worry. But I think my impression was, you need to help with here. And I think they were a bit, what do we do? I think they were a bit stuck on how to go about this themselves, because they've never experienced probably something like this. So I think they were standoffish as well, as to really get behind it in the early days. But I
suppose they've got to be careful what they can promise, can't they? They've got to be careful what they can offer, because as you say, if they've not been in that position themselves before, they've got nothing to go on, have they?
No. So once we did a few months in the prison, and I've got nothing to say about the embassy. They did what the embassy did, and they did a lot more than what they should have done.
Right, that's good.
For anyone to disagree with that, I think you need to have a big fucking think, pardon me French, and remember what they're actually done and went out of their way for. Because
that's reassuring. Yeah, that's good.
They did go out of their way. You might not have agreed with half the stuff that they might have came out and said. At the end of the day, a lot of people think, well, if I get into trouble abroad, the embassy is going to save the day. Well, that doesn't necessarily work, unfortunately. No. You need to show that you are innocent. You can't just they can't take your word for it.
No.
And where the company getting a lawyer, and the lawyer then got with bail, but then the police said the weapons were illegal. Basically, we didn't know this at the time, but we found out during the trial that they did a ballistics expert, and the collector of evidence put the charges on one before receiving the ballistics report, saying the weapons were a dummy switch and had parts removed and cannot be replaced, and they are semi-automatic and can only fire one shot and are not a weapon of war. And we didn't know this at the time, and we got our bail refused. So it became tougher. And then obviously our company sacked the lawyer. And we got a because we needed a maritime lawyer. We didn't need a lawyer of criminal act. We needed a maritime lawyer because it was a maritime case. And she was the best that money could buy.
Right.
And she did a fantastic job. She got with bail. It took some time, but we got bail in April 2014. There was a lot of, this and that involved in the bail conditions, because they were scared we might flee the country. So they were putting stuff in to make sure that we would comply. So we had to sign bail twice a day, 10 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock at night. So while you're living in a hostel out in India, you're constantly clock watching, and it wasn't a life. I don't want to be there. I want to go home. And things is going on. And then July 2014, the case gets quashed. That's it. I do not have no charges. It's over.
Right.
And the police have got 90 days to appeal. But we had two lawyers stating in Indian law, during them 90-day appeal process, we do not need to remain in India. And this is where I will say the government failed me and the other guys, because they did, and they know fine well they did. They disregarded Indian law and just turned around and said to her when we had a meeting, we had people come from New Delhi, they went, well, we'll see if they appeal or not. I'm like, that's 90 days away.
Yeah.
That's 3 months that I'm not earning, that 3 months that my family are having to pay for hostel, food, to, you know, to keep me going for 3 months. And then as the days are, and weeks and months are going by, you're getting more excited because you think, well, if they're going to appeal, they're going to appeal straight away. Because, well, if you've got nothing, what's the point of, you know, appealing straight away? Because things will get sorted. So they're dragging it out, causing more misery. And then on day 88, they put the paperwork in as a Supreme Court. And it was just like a sucker punch. I remember seeing the guys' faces and they looked wounded. 2 days away from it being over. 2 days. And they've just gone, take that. It was a horrible feeling. Yeah. Imagine how our families felt, knowing there were 2 days of wait. And this is like, when I say to people, for 4 years, it was just mental torture. Constantly mental, fucking with your head, pardon me French. But that's what it was. Because if they appealed, say, 2 months earlier or a month earlier, the balls could be rolling and we would win in Supreme Court.
Yeah, yeah.
Because at that time we were all kind of together and we weren't going our separate ways, because over time you get pissed off with each other, and that's understandable. We're all hurting, we're all getting frustrated, we all miss our families, but we all ultimately want to go home, and we're going to do everything in our power, whether people agree with certain people, and etc., etc. So it went to Supreme Court, and we're like looking at the government going, we told you, and you wouldn't listen. You failed with. So when we next saw the government, they were kind of pretty sheepish. Thinking, sorry, to a degree, but we had to crack on, so to speak. We had to move forward, right? We're at the highest court in the whole of India. Let's make this work. Let's get home. They do not have a leg to stand on. They've got zero evidence, nothing. We hold all the chess pieces. But it didn't matter. It didn't matter because we became a split call sign, so to speak. So we went up to Supreme Court and we had our guys with our lawyer and the rest of the guys with their lawyer, and then you've got the police. So the police are saying, well, the weapons are illegal. We're saying we are on that vessel for anti-piracy duties. The weapons are legal. Here's all your evidence. And then the other guys are saying, and they didn't obviously brief their lawyer up, and he went, and so when the judge is asking, why were you on the ship? What was the ship doing? All they had to do and say was, we are getting fuel and provisions. That's all they had to say.
Yeah.
But the judge, when he asked that lawyer the question, he went, oh, I don't know why the ship was there. I'm just here because they were passengers. Well, because you've turned around and said, I do not know why that vessel was there. That's all the judge needs. Yeah. And he's going, well, you're saying that, and you're saying that. How am I supposed to make a judgment here? Let's go to trial. Well, when the judge turned around and said that, the police were licking their lips, because guess where the trial would be? Back in the lion's den, where it all began.
Right.
And you're thinking, seriously, no. That was another sucker punch.
Yeah.
So we're then having to wait from, I think, January to September So there's months of, festering in a country you shouldn't be.
Uncertainty again, yeah.
And the uncertainty, as you just said there, and the not knowing what's happening and what's, because the court from where I was in Chennai down to Tuticorin, it's a 9.5 hour journey.
Yeah.
And I was quite settled in Chennai as best as I could. And I wasn't prepared to live down in Tuticorin because it was like going back in time.
Right.
Chennai to Tuticorin is like Las Vegas.
Oh, God.
Honestly, like Tuticorin is like Dubai before they found oil. A couple of buildings and sand, crap, shithole. But we started the process, the trial. We had to turn up for a few times under the directions of the judge, but other than that, I just told the lawyer, I'm not coming. I'm not bothered. No. Unless the judge asks me to be there, I don't see the point of being there. I trust my legal team. I trust a couple of the guys who are helping the legal team out. They relocated down to Tuticorin. I was in a relationship at the time, and she was in Chennai, so I'm not going to leave that.
Right.
So that's one of the reasons why I stayed in Chennai. And everything's going through the process. I remember one of the times when I were in the court and they were doing the cross-examination, and like I said not too long ago, up in the dock stands the collector of evidence. And when we had our lawyer come over and translate what has been said, I felt violently sick. He put charges on us knowing he hasn't received the ballistics expert report because the police had forced him to do it. No doubt, give him a little backhander because that ballistics expert report says weapons are not illegal.
Yeah, it would have exonerated you, wouldn't it?
And even the ballistics expert had the weapon in front of the judge. Your Honor, it's a dummy switch. It cannot fire more than one round. If in automatic, you got to go bang, bang, bang. Basically, it's not a weapon of war.
No.
And the judge went, duly noted. And we're like, that's it. It's game over. It's finished. It's finished. It's over. They don't have a leg to stand on. We're like, okay, where was the vessel? And they're looking at the map and they're like, and I'm thinking, you don't even know where we were, do you? You were told where we were because I'm 100% sure the agent, because why wasn't he arrested? He's part of us. Why wasn't he arrested?
Yeah, true.
It all came out. I think if my memory serves me right, the company I worked for gave, I think, $40,000 for fuel and provisions. Only, I think, 11,000 was spent. So where's all this money gone? It's gone to the agent who's bought himself a green pass.
Yeah.
Has to be.
Yeah.
Because, like, come on, man. If you get given 40,000, you spend 40,000.
Yeah.
You don't go, well, I'll outsource it and I'll get it done on the cheap, mate, and then I'll give you the change. It doesn't work like that.
No.
And obviously the companies can just write that money off because that's what happens. But the paperwork all came out, and you're thinking, well, what? This is news to us, and because we don't deal with it, we're security guards.
Yeah.
That's above our pay grade. That's to deal with the crew, captain, and company.
Yeah.
And you're in a court of law, and you're hearing all this come out from your lawyer, and you just feel sick to the And I went, I'm not coming back here. Fuck this shit. It's going to send me into an early grave, or I'm going to jump over this bench and I'm going to knock someone out. And that's how bitter and angry we felt.
Yeah.
Hearing this, we felt angry. I personally did. Because they are lying through their back teeth in a court of law.
Yeah.
Yet they all cry on, we are not corrupt, we don't do this, we don't do that. And they can't lie straight in bed.
Yeah.
And the frustration on the guys' faces was horrible. And, you know, the trial's going on, and then it comes to Christmas, and the judge goes, right, see us on the 10th of January. And we're like, oh, at least we've got Christmas, and, you know, enjoy a bit of Christmas time with my partner at the time. And we went up to Bangalore for New Year, the next state along, which was, it's more Western and better than Tamil Nadu and Chennai. And it was a great time. And we're lawyer went, we've done everything we can. We're really happy how it's been conducted. I think we've won this year. He wasn't fucking right. He was, but he's done everything he can.
Yeah.
No, because we couldn't use our maritime lawyer in the lower courts. It had to be the local guys. So we had to, you know, get all the paperwork and get it all programmed into their heads, and because they were clueless. This was out of the water for them. They would probably deal with little petty criminals and murder cases where we're putting maritime stuff on them, so that the you know, yes, our lawyer was involved in the background, so to speak, but couldn't have a direct hand in things till it goes to high court. And stood there at the back of the court, got a bench. The complaint because my water bottle was making a noise, saying calm down. I said, I'm drinking water. Shut up. I'm keeping hydrated. It was stifling. It was hot. It was about 30 odd degrees. September. We're in January, and it's hot over there. And I was the last person to turn up on Judgment Day, because I had all the media bombarding us, because they didn't know when the verdict was going to be. So I just tell them, I'm going into court now. I'll ring you when I'm out. And we're all stood at the back, down, you know, so we're stood at the back of the room, and the judge and his assistants is right at the bottom. The prosecution team's down the left, and our team and the embassies are down on the right. And I remember saying to one of the Estonian guys who I stood next to, why is there loads of police coming down the sides of the courtroom on the outside? And he goes, what do you mean? I said, watch. And you could see them all marching down. And I went, this doesn't look good.
No.
Why is there loads of police? Because there's 35 of us here. Or they're expecting a kicking off or something. So I was like, this doesn't look right. And then the judge said something to his assistant. His assistant stood up and said something. And our embassy girls who are local, they were on their phones and out the courtroom. And I said, what the fuck's going on here? And I've never seen a man walk to a group of guys shitting himself in my life. Our lawyer come over to us shaking. And we're like, what the hell was he saying? Come on, tell me. And he's like, you've been sentenced to 5 years. And we're like, what? What do you mean? How's he sentenced? He's taken the weapon method and missed the rest off. This original G3 weapon is designed to fire fully automatic. However, this particular weapon has had parts removed and cannot be refitted. for the sole purpose of maritime operations. He's missed that and just convicted on the original design method of the original G3 weapon. And that's how he's convicted with. So he's basically just took Indian law and boom, he's disregarded everything to convict with. And there was rumour he was due to resign, but we heard he got a year or 2 year extension. I wonder why, and I wonder how. Another bit of corruption, I wonder, because that's how it looked from our side. But anyways, all hell broke loose in the format of the sinking gut feeling. And no sooner the media straight on my phone, and I said, "You're gonna have to deal with my sister. Sorry." And even to this day, it still feels raw. Like it was yesterday. And I visualize it and think back. And I was like, what do I do? So I rung my sister, and because of the time difference, it was early morning, or late-ish morning in the UK.
And Nick, did they know this was taking place? Were they literally waiting?
Yeah. The media was waiting to find out from my sister. They were all like waiting, and they got the news by our lawyer, who in the embassy, who then contacted the British lawyer to then tell the families. And I rung my sister. She wasn't obviously aware of anything. I said, "Go to Mum's now. It's not good." And she was like, "What do you mean it's not good?" I said, "Go to Mum's now." And then I rung my dad. I said, "Dad, it's not going well." He went, "What do you mean it's not going well?" I said, "They've sentenced with the 5 years." He says, "The weapons is all in order, isn't it?" Because the families had seen the paperwork. Because something came out that, the weapons are illegal. So all the families kind of went into a flap. So we had to reassure the families. So we got copies given to the family so they could understand that we were innocent,
of course,
because family, even if you're guilty or whatnot, your family's still your family. Yes, they'll be upset with you, but they're still going to care for you. But we were innocent, and they knew we were innocent. And they were absolutely devastated. My dad doesn't really show emotions as such, and he didn't. I don't know what his reaction was after I put the phone down to him, and I got on the phone back to my sister, and my mum's long-time friend was assisting, because obviously my mum, after suffering a double aneurysm, is on full-time carers, and her speech isn't the greatest, can't have a normal conversation, her mobility is not the greatest, and she's obviously got health problems from that as well. And they put us on loudspeaker when I have to tell my family what happened. And my sister, with me, obviously pre-warning her it's not good news. She wasn't aware of the news that I was about to tell her. And I went, "Lisa, Mum, we've been sentenced to 5 years. And I've never experienced a human being crying like a wounded animal in my entire life to what I had to experience when listening to me mum down the phone. It was a horrible, horrible experience. But I had to keep cool and calm, because obviously I wanted to rip the judge's throat out. I'd have preferred to have done murder. I'd have preferred to have been going to a prison for a crime I committed, not for a crime I didn't commit. and foisted charges and corruption and all that, and to be made an example of. It was devastating, absolutely devastating. And then,
Nick, when they say 5 years,
yes,
do they take into account the time you've already been?
No, not for foreigners. So I would have.
So from that day, so despite the length of time you've been held in India, whether that's on bail or not, so from that day, do you then start the 5 years?
Yes. They don't take the other time into consideration for foreign nationals, only local nationals.
Right, okay.
And I would have finished my sentence January this year.
Right.
I would have came home January this year. Right. Imagine me being in an Indian prison during last year, and nearly a year of COVID. I wouldn't have seen my family. I would probably have not have seen the embassy. I probably might not have received a letter.
Yeah.
They might have stopped. That would have taken us to the next level.
Yeah.
And I probably wouldn't be in the position I am now. I probably would have been a lot worse. But thankfully it didn't. But obviously it hasn't, ended as well as I thought it would have been. Yeah. So we got sentenced to 5 years. I then rung my partner at the time. I went, right, do me one favour. Can you go to the hostel? Can you pack all my belongings? Can you take it to the embassy? And can you get on with your life?
Right.
Because I'm going to 5 years and I can't, and I'm always going to be going home and I can't expect you to wait for us.
No.
She, the next day, was at that prison trying to get in. And she continued that every day for a week. She didn't get to see me till March for my birthday when my sister came out to see us. Yeah. For 3 months nearly, she was trying to get to see me because she was in love with me and I was in love with her, and she was such a fantastic help with coming to visit me in prison, helping with everyone's family meal. So when she would come to visit me, she would get in touch with all the Estonian, British and Ukrainian families and say, I'm going to visit Nick. Would you like to send a letter to your loved one? So she'll do that a few days before and then get all the emails, print them all off. And then she would buy creature comforts, maybe to make our food better, or condiments like coffee and milk powder and stuff like that, so we can have brews and that in prison. But going from that courtroom and, speaking with the embassy, and I said, get us, and you can see when you go online and look at the, where we're about to board the bus, you actually see me pleading at the Prime Minister at the time, David Cameron, to come and get her, to fight for her. You can see that on YouTube and all that. And it's just horrible. Like, I'm that close for the second time to coming home and it's taken away from me. How does that affect you mentally? Well, it crushes you.
Where did you go, Nick? Which prison did you go after they sentenced you?
We went, so I've already done my first 6 months before I got bail in the remand prison in Chennai. Right. And the convicted prison is just next door.
Right, okay.
So we travelled through the night. We had a tyre blowout, so we nearly didn't make it. We nearly crashed off the road because they drive like lunatics in India. Yeah. There's no health and safety in consideration. It's just drive as fast as you can. It's just a lawless country, practically. And for anyone who's experienced India will tell you that as well. But a lot of people who go to India don't go for longevity. So they only say, say, if they're going on holiday to Goa. Yeah. So that I saw India and how they
Sure.
live.
You saw the infrastructure of the place.
Yeah, I
the
saw
workings of the place.
they are
Yeah.
in their own back garden.
Yeah.
And they are, and when you look at the Indians who live in or born in this country, they are world apart.
Yeah.
Absolutely world apart. I even had Indian people supporting me who felt disgusted that their countrymen were treating us in this way, and they felt ashamed. And the shop that is on the top of my sister's road, every time my sister used to go in for, say, a milk or something, he used to kick off saying, I'm so horrible, horrible the way my people are treating your brother. I'm so sorry. And my sister's just overwhelmed, because you wouldn't think you'd experience that, you see.
No.
You'd think they'll just keep quiet and not mention. And I don't hate every Indian. Of course I don't. My previous partner was Indian, so I don't. And I met some fantastic Indians over there, mainly from when I was training in the gym and stuff like that. But, they are a very different bunch of people, so to speak. How they operate and run their country. It's a police state. I remember their prime minister saying we are the biggest democracy in the world, and I'm thinking, you are far from a democracy, mate. Far from a democracy.
Yeah.
But the thing about what I experienced in India is they do not care what the outside world thinks of them. They do not care. Absolutely zero fucks given of what any other country says.
As long as we keep sending them aid.
Well, yeah, but you've got like our British delegates, meetings, talks, over 50 talks. And my sister's going, come on, we need action.
Yeah.
Not words. Actions speak louder than words, as the saying goes. You've had over 50 meetings, foreign secretary, prime minister levels, 2 prime ministers, Theresa May and David Cameron. And you're thinking, what? What have you achieved? Zero progress. We had 2 foreign ministers, High Commissioner, Deputy High Commissioner visiting us in prison. 2 foreign ministers. That does not happen. You do not get visits, but we did.
Yeah.
Is a reassurance that they're doing everything they can.
Yeah.
And they are telling me they're doing everything they can. And I'm sat there thinking, no, you're not. No, you're not. Because what? I know you can't directly involve yourself in a legal case. I understand that.
Yeah, I get that bit, yeah.
But what are you doing when you're having these meetings? Are you not showing your delegate, your opposite numbers, the evidence? And see, come on. These people need, Well,
it doesn't bode well, Nick, does it? I mean, I'm not being funny, but, if I was going to get Nick somewhere in the world, I certainly wouldn't want to get Nick there by the sound of it, that's for sure. Not after all that many people have been involved, and they've not got, they've barely got any leverage to help you, that's for sure. And that's when you're innocent.
Yeah.
Heaven forbid if you was guilty.
Yeah, like going through the courts, it's a slow process, and the courts went on strike, the lawyers went on strike, and I came back to the UK and I said, have you ever heard of the lawyers going on strike? And they went, you can't go on strike. It happened in India, and they closed the courts for 3 months. So there's 3 months of waiting around.
Of your life, nothing. Yeah. 3 months of your life.
3 months sat in a prison of nothing. We waited 1 year for a decision. 1 year, because the judge was very reluctant on making a decision. Like when we got convicted for 5 years in prison, we got given like a dog bowl and a metal mug and a spoon and a couple of sheets. And when you walk into this cell, this is when my military training kicked in. And when the shit hits the fan in the military, you take a step back and you think on your feet and you assess the situation.
Yeah.
I put that training into how I had to conduct myself. So I thought, right, there's this part of the cell, there's my sheets, I'm going to live here. And then while you've still got a healthy mind, once you're able to, when it's daylight and you've got more time when the cells reopen, assess the situation, look at what you've got in your surroundings, try and get a little routine started up, etc. A lot of people spent walking around, and then when time we were able to get running trainers sent in, or family, we could run outside, and obviously, as you know, I ran around the inside of the prison 27 times to
that's right.
to basically mock the Great North Run, the half marathon. And prior to me doing that, I was knackered after 15. I was like, I'm actually hanging out after 15 laps. How on earth am I going to do 27? But I think when you've got a thought process and you want to achieve something, you push beyond them boundaries and limits. And I wanted to pick my sister up because she was struggling through little niggles in her training for the half marathon. So I made her a promise. I said, on the day of the marathon, I'll do it with you. And I did, and she completed the marathon. And
brilliant.
But getting yourself into a routine was the main thing in prison. And then, like, when one of the most horrible feelings of being in a prison is when the cell door shuts and it's a metal on metal sound, and then you hear the keys turning and locking. Everything goes quiet. The hairs on the back of your neck stand up, a shudder down your spine, and your family just comes into your head. And every night, for maybe close to an hour, that our cell would just be quiet because everyone's reflecting of the day, and your family's just coming into your thought process. And when you're an innocent man 5,000 miles away in a foreign country in their prison and going through their prison system, you cannot not think of your family. And my family's thinking of my family spurred me on, but it also weakened me at the same time. So I was in a catch-22. And it's a horrible experience to endure. And we got ill in times, but we made do with what we got. And then when family visits can happen, and we're able to use our prison money accounts, like I say, a prison charity called Prisoners Abroad. We're putting money into our account every so many months, and they were such a massive help. And then I had help money from the British Legion and the Parachuter Regiment Association. They were contributing as well, and in the mission to seafarers as well, financially. Even like come to Christmas, the mission to seafarers gave the families £1,000 each for Christmas. Brilliant. Just to try and take the edge off things of us not being here. And a lot of the guys' families, we were the bread earners, if you know what I mean. So it was it's difficult. I can't imagine how some of the guys felt who've got kids. Like, all I've got is my family and my focal points, my mum. So we were all hurting. I can't speak for any other guy. I can only speak from my experiences. But what I did experience is a lot of guys were hurting. Some showed it, some kept it inside, Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I've learned over the years not to bottle things up. But we were all hurting. We were squabbling amongst ourselves because that's going to happen. You're on top of each other. You're missing your family. Things aren't going well. You're in a tumble dryer, and it's, you don't know when the cycle's going to end. And you know, and I say this, and I'm true to this day. You could have put two of lifelong best friends in our situation. They'd probably hate each other's guts now. And that's God's honest truth. Some people became better friends. Some people got new friends from the situation, and other people just downright hated each other after that. At the end of it, I left my door open to anyone. That's just my nature, you know. Yes, I got on with certain people, and some people I didn't get on with. But at the end of the day, that's life. You know, you can't. We all come from different backgrounds and different countries. That's going to happen. It happens day-to-day lives. You can't be friends with everyone. No. You can tolerate people. But
I had some experience myself, Nick, where and I'm not going to go into this too deeply because this is, you know, you're the guest, not me. But in the 90s, I had some experience of being a Category A prisoner, and in a very old prison, you know, and with a very strict regime. And they let you know. And you're saying about the door when, you know, the first night when the door slams, and a sudden realization you can't get out, you can't get the other side of that door. And I've described it like this. I remember laying on the bed, and it felt like somebody had just opened me up and taken my soul out. And at that point, someone had said to me, "Do you even know what that means? What is a soul? It's not an organ, is it? As such, like your heart, your liver, your lungs. You can't see your soul, but that's the only way I could describe it to somebody. It literally felt something inside, whether that's your spirit, whether that's your resistance, your resignation to the situation you're in. I don't know, but it definitely felt like something was taken out of me.
Well, a part of my soul's still there.
Yeah.
And I'll never be able to get it back. I made a promise to my family that I'll walk out of that prison with my head held high and my back straight.
Yeah.
And I had long hair.
Respect for that, mate. Respect to you.
They could have beat me to a pulp, but they would have never broke my pride and spirit. I tried my best to stay positive in that situation. Yes, there was times I cried myself to sleep. Of course, I'm only human.
We've all done it, mate. We've all done it, I can assure you.
I'm an innocent man.
Don't let anyone tell you any different. Don't let anyone think they're an old man and they haven't, and they tell you that they never cry, because I bet you they did. And I know, because I was a listener for some time in prison, and I'll see some of the toughest men break down. Don't worry about that. They wouldn't tell anyone they broke down.
Yeah.
Sure you they broke down.
No, like, I was in a very basic prison. There was no beds. We were living on sheets for a bit, then we finally got these little thin mattresses, but over time in the heat, so you're kind of just on a thin bit of mattress, and you're not in the greatest of health.
No.
So you're getting aches and pains, and we're only really having one meal a day. Yes, we'll be picking on with biscuits and porridge and all that. I was very grateful that once the prison guys kind of the gym guys found that I was in prison, they started sending protein powder into us.
Right, that's good.
So that would help a little bit, because we built a little gym.
Yeah, I was going to get onto that. I was going to ask you about your gym.
Yeah, we ripped flagstones out of the ground, snapped branches, used our bed sheets. And obviously, for those who want to see what my gym looks like, you've just got to look on my social media, my Facebook, my Instagram, and my Twitter. The pictures of our gyms there.
Encourage people to do that after, yeah.
My sister sent a spy pen out, so I went around taking pictures of the gym, and obviously I released them not long after my book came out last year.
Yeah.
And I had a few people question these pictures because obviously the dates are wrong. Well, my sister's not going to piss about trying to get the right date on it. She's just going to charge it up, put it in a parcel, and send it off, isn't she?
Yeah.
So, you know, like the pictures of that prison are genuine, 100% taken by myself. Yeah. For God's sakes, you can see pictures of me. I'm not the best at. I was unable to do a good selfie, like. Yeah. So I'm like cutting half of my face off and all that, but it's me. And so if I was able to get pictures of me in the prison, why would you think the outside prison, like the toilets and just my compound, why would you question them?
Exactly.
But some people did, but you're going to get people like that, aren't you? But yeah.
What stage in the 5 years, did Nick? Did things start to change in regards to being released? What period did that come about?
Well, we appealed,
right,
and in November 2016, it was all done and dusted. So we spent Christmas, New Year, and then obviously I spent another birthday in prison. So all in all, I spent three Christmases and New Year's and 3 birthdays in prison in a 4-year period. So happy birthday to me, yeah. And that was the only time I saw my family, when they came out on my birthday, because they wanted to raise my spirits a bit and give us some positive mental attitude, which it was needed. So the appeal was done. We're waiting on a decision, and time's getting on, and we're like, hang on a minute. So we're getting in touch with the government and saying, what's going on here? This is contempt of court. Yeah. And our lawyer's saying, I don't know what the procedure in the UK is. If the judges, well, I'm not even going to start down. The Indians always turned around and went, we model our judicial system off the UK. I was like, probably from 100 years ago.
Yeah, I was going to say, when was that then?
Because there's absolutely no way the way our courts run is anything like what happens in India. No. Without a shadow of a doubt. Like, I wouldn't know how long say a murder case it would take from the final argument to the decision. Yeah. Maybe a couple of months or so.
Yeah.
Give or take. We went 1 year. 1 year for a decision. And we were speaking with our government saying we need help, and our lawyers helpless. So people are getting on the case with the lawyer saying, oh, she's not doing nothing in this and the other. Well, in their country, they can't just go to a chief justice, which is the state's head judge. Yeah. And we had to do it diplomatically, off the record, but on the record, if you know what I mean. So our Deputy High Commissioner had tea and biscuits with the Chief Justice herself. And, you know, they've came in to tell us this. And she went, put the paperwork in officially, and I'll take it up. Well, the judge went, oh, I'm not going to give this decision. I can't deal with it. If he had walked away with that case, the Chief Justice would have had to get a new judge. Right. The new judge would have to take all the evidence again. Then they would have to do a new appeal process. That took nearly 1 year. So imagine another year on top of that. So the Chief Justice went, no, you're not. You're to make this decision. Well, still was taking forever. It's mad, isn't it? The top judge telling a subordinate, do your job, and he's going, nah. Like, it's madness. And we're in a prison cell trying to digest this. Yeah. And we're like, you got to be kidding. What? He's telling, it's like you going to work and your boss saying, well, can you do that? And you turn around and go, nah, you're going to lose your job, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly.
Not in India. No. Nah, I'm not doing that. So the captain, I hope he's got good health, even though he was a bit of a crazy guy and he always complained, I'm dying and all this. He actually was dying. Oh, I shouldn't laugh, but you had to be there to see. He got bone cancer and he was like a skeleton with skin draped over him. He was ill. He looked grey. He looked awful. And that's what cancer does to you. Yeah. But he's getting his treatment and he doesn't realise this treatment's working. So I saw a red herring because he wants to die in a private hospital to get his family from the Ukraine to come and watch him die. So our lawyers put a case in the court. So while we're stuck at the High Court for nearly 1 year, he's gone from the lower court to High Court to the Supreme Court. And when his case gets heard in the Supreme Court, guess who hears his case? Mr. Grand Judge of all of India. Mr. Judge himself hears his case. And guess, obviously, this is layman terms translation. He's gone, I don't care about your health. Why are you still in my country? Well, our lawyers have jumped on the chance. They've gone, well, Your Honour, if you look at High Court, it's been nearly 1 year. Yeah. Still waiting on a decision. Right. Give that to the High Court. I want a decision in 2 weeks. Within 2 weeks. 1 week had passed. We got a decision date, judgment date. The end date is in sight. 27th of November, 2017. Oh. Judgment date. So you can imagine Sunday evening, not one of us slept an ounce because we knew on that Monday a decision one way or the other is happening. A lot of people are apprehensive. Me, I was buzzing. I was on cloud nine because we were listening to the radio on Sunday night and it was playing classic ballads. And people, I know I've repeated this quite a few times, but obviously doing different podcasts, different viewers, etc. And the song, The Final Countdown, came on by Europe. And that song will stay with me for the rest of my life.
Yeah, I should imagine.
Because it means a massive importance to me.
Yeah.
Because that song, The Final Countdown, we were finally counting down to freedom.
Yeah.
And I stood up in the cell and I said to the guys, it's fucking over. This is over. And you can understand people still being apprehensive.
Yeah.
I don't fault them at all. No, we'll just see what happens. Well, none of us slept that night, or very little sleep anyways. So you're waiting for the cell to open. I couldn't wait to get out. I had to get out to do some fitness to try and tire myself. Because I had to keep myself active. I didn't want to dwell and shoulda, woulda, coulda, what's going to happen. A lot of people were like, oh, what do you think is going to happen? And I'm just trying, we'll just see. And the time is getting on and we're thinking, why we're not heard anything yet? And it's getting close to tea time. And then the guys go down to get in touch with the lawyer at the jailers. And I'm busy training outside. And I remember one of the guys coming to the cell window and going, Dunny. And I'm like, what? He goes, and you know when someone's excited but about to cry at the same time? And I try to express, he goes, case acquitted. It's over. And I was like, see, I told you it would be over. And I was like, inside, my heart nearly jumping out of my chest. And I thought, right, let's finish off what I'm doing. And I was like, I kind of my head's just gone boom with this new bit of positive information. I couldn't even finish me training. So I just picked up my towel and my water bottle, and I've gone into the cell, and everyone's jubilant, everyone's buzzing their tits off. People are starting to pack bags and whatever little bit of items they've got, and I'm not doing now, because you know what happened the last time where they lied about we're getting bail, and I'm not going till I'm physically getting told I'm leaving. Yeah. I'm not packing now away. So, and I need a wash, and the guys had made food as well. So I go for a shower, bucket wash, and I come back, have food, and you're struggling to eat because you're taken over by emotions.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And and there was 40 cases, and guess what? We were the last case to be heard. So they were delaying the inevitable. Yeah. And then no one slept that night, as you can imagine. Yep. So there's 2 nights of no sleep.
Yeah.
And I had to get out. I couldn't wait for 6 o'clock. Between 6:30, they were day and morning and night. That's when they would lock in my cells and unlock. I was saying, open this bloody door now. I need to go and do some training. I need to tire myself out. So I've gone back into the gym again. And every time I did a set, I walked around the compound and, continued doing that till I was finished my routine. And I was coming back, and I saw one of the guys going out of the compound. I went, whoa, what's the matter? He goes, oh, I've been summoned to the superintendent's. I went, all right. And then I'm doing again. I'm coming back around, and he's coming back in. And I went, what's the crack? And the most happiest moment in my life.
Yeah.
Get your shit together. The embassy's coming at 11 o'clock. I mean, it felt like someone had just kneecapped us.
Yeah.
In a good way.
Yeah.
I felt sick.
Yeah.
I felt ill. Because I didn't know how to digest this.
Yeah.
4 years. 4 years has just come to an end. For what? For what?
Yeah.
You've just taken 4 years of our life. For what?
Nick, I don't want to cut you short here by any means, but
yeah,
because I felt a bit uncomfortable, because when you was talking about the psychological strain, I didn't want to miss out on other things that you clearly needed to explain. So I can assure you, I wasn't ignoring the emotions you were going through at the time. Because I've wanted to ask you towards the end of our conversation.
Yeah.
In the context of, now you are back home. Now you are back amongst your family.
Yeah.
What are you doing now? Basically, how is Nick Dunn of today coping with all that psychological and emotional and physical strain that's been put upon your body? How are you currently dealing with that?
For the past few years, it's been good, and I've settled back into normal way of life. I've been very fortunate to publish a book, and that was.
Show us that again, Nick, please. Could you show us the book again, please?
Yeah. So, it's been out nearly 1 year now, and this is basically my time in India and my life, basically. So you could say it's like a bit of a biography. Sorry. And basically, like, for 4 years, I was in a mental state of fighting for freedom. And people take freedom for granted. People don't realize what freedom really is. I know what freedom really means. And I know what it's like to have it stripped away from you.
Yeah.
And people might think murder is worse than taking freedom, but in my eyes, taking an innocent man's freedom away is worse than murder. It is, because you've got no life. I know, obviously, if you kill someone, you're taking their life. I understand that. We all live, we all, born, we all die eventually, hopefully. Natural causes more than getting murdered. But I've been in a relaxed state, and recently it's just caught us by surprise.
Right. Okay.
Everything's just crept up over the years and I've probably not realised the actual trauma that I've went through.
Yeah.
And being a man of pride, my pride's taken a bit of a beating at the minute, and you could say I've had a bit of a mental breakdown where I wanted to take my own life.
Right.
And I thought my hell had finished.
Right.
It just seems to be a beginning of a new hell. And I can't do it alone, and I've had to seek professional help. Right. I've had to reach out, which for a lot of men out there who are suffering mentally, it's a very difficult thing to do, because we're men. We're not meant to feel like this. We're not built to feel like this, when we hold a lot of things back. And when it builds up, I was letting my pride just palm things off, because at that time I could deal with it, but all I was doing was delaying the inevitable. And everything's just come back. It's just sucker punched us. And it's been difficult, but I'm on the right path. I was seeing, I was getting evaluated again today, and putting me on medication, and I've got a veteran side of the NHS wing coming to see me tomorrow, and I just want to say thank you for everyone's amazing support and kind, loving messages. In India, I needed help towards the end, because I was at my wit's end. I was on empty, and people came to support me to carry across the finish line. And I'm needing that support again, because I can't do this on my own. And it's another fight, and I have to reprogram my mindset to a fighting mindset and not let my demons consume me. And it's going to be a difficult, long road ahead, but I'm willing to go down that road, because in life we go down roads and paths. And sometimes we come to dead ends, and sometimes we come to crossroads, and we don't know which one to take. And I'm a fond believer, you should always follow your heart. And I've had to put my pride to one side, because my pride would say, no, you're all right. You're a man. You're a paratrooper. Stiff upper lip, crack on. And unfortunately, when you have to deal with your own mental well-being, you are your own worst enemy.
I think I should stress, Nick, to those that are watching, that just prior to we started filming, that I had said to you that you clearly were uncomfortable, and basically did say to you, did give you the option, look, we can leave this for another day, when you feel like you may be up for it more. And the only reason I mention it, that's not to give us any credit. That's to say that despite the way you currently feel, that you chose to speak for the best part of 2 hours and share your story. So, you know, if that's not bravery, I don't know what is, because you just had an opportunity there to walk away and you didn't. You've sat there and you've told your story, and you've poured your heart out to it. And that's not an easy thing to do. And you know, the ethos of this podcast is one of, you know, we want to talk to real people, and we want to talk to inspiring people. And you don't get much more real than what you've spoken about today. And the fact that you've recognised that you do need help, you do need assistance. Hopefully that will encourage many, many other people in similar circumstances to do exactly the same, that they go. And you know, and I sincerely hope you continue to ask for that help. There's not a problem with that. I can assure you, as I say, I've met.
It was very difficult.
Some tough men, and they're no different, my friend. They're no different from you. That's for sure. You're not that unusual, and I sincerely hope that you know, that life improves for you, and hopefully, if you're happy with this, that at a later stage, and we will keep in touch. We will. I can assure you that, you know, you'll come on again and give us an update, because we did speak privately about some of the good things that may happen.
Yeah.
I sincerely hope that they do, and it would be nice to have you come back and share that with us. You know.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say a few words now, Nick. But if you can just stay on, I'll just say a few words, and we'll just have a little bit more of a chat in private.
Yeah.
Well, again, you know, I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in to today's podcast. As I say, real and inspiring, and that's certainly what Nick's been today. Again, I'd like to thank our sponsors, Myson's Building Company, and also our technical advisors, Raw Media Solutions. As I say, I'm going to end it now because I'd like to continue a conversation with Nick. So to everybody that has tuned in today, thanks again for your support. We very much appreciate it. All the best. Cheers.